Nina Ritchie is a distinguished businesswoman, television presenter, actor, associate author, film producer, and philanthropist. Nina Ritchie has dedicated 43 years of her life serving society with her own funds paid taxes. For 41 years, is been targeted unlawfully by SUDHIR SHARMA, Lord Ashcroft, and Lord Rami Ranger have reportedly exploited their affiliations with Freemasonry and their positions of authority to target innocent women unlawfully, who is victims of crime committed by Freemasonry members, abused their positions of authority. Their involvement in SHARMA's unpaid debt has left Nina Ritchie live has severely impacting their freedom and quality of life. Criminal activities suggest that these 14 individuals involved in SHARMA's hate campaign have engaged in actions that can be likened to a slow poison, systematically degrading their victims. Furthermore, there are claims that they have financial obligations to various entities, including lawyers, judges, NHS professionals, police, the Department for Work and Pensions, Age UK, local taxpayers, Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea Council Law Society, justice ministers, and local members of Parliament. It is concerning that those in positions of authority, who are tasked with upholding the rule of law and supporting victims of crime, are complicit, have closed ranks with criminal organizations, and engaged in fraudulent activities due to their links to Freemasonry. The recent documentary sheds light on the alarming issue of Freemasonry in Great Britain, revealing its portrayal as an insidious cult group that allegedly harbors approximately 200,000 members engaged in the harassment and attempted murder of women. This disturbing trend highlights a critical societal problem as women increasingly confront and resist these threats. It is imperative that we collectively denounce any institution that believes it can perpetrate violence against innocent individuals without consequence. Society must unite in support of these courageous women, ensuring that there is no tolerance for such malevolent organizations. The time for action is now. We must advocate for justice and the protection of all individuals against such egregious violations of human rights. Nina Ritchie has dedicated 43 years of her life serving society with her own funds, has taken upon herself to interview a journey of survival and discovery. Nina Ritchie has unfortunately become a victim of the malevolent actions associated with Freemasonry. What began as a business project undertaken with good faith and intentions has devolved into a situation marked by death threats and human rights violations against innocent women. Notable figures and organizations, including the Conservative Party, local taxpayers, and independent authorities such as the RBKC Council, as well as Lord Ashcroft and Rami Ranger, appear to be complicit in shielding this gang-stalking and fraudulent behavior. Nina Ritchie found herself targeted after investigating the activities of Freemasonry, particularly in relation to a debt owed to her by SUDHIR SHARMA. It raises serious questions about SHARMA's sense of impunity, as he seems to believe he is above the law, even in light of potential criminal actions. Lord Ashcroft, CEO of Crimestoppers charity, which is supposed to protect victims of crime, is involved in killing innocent women due to Freemasons Brotherhood and Sisterhood members of the Freemasons are providing protection for him. As Nina shared her story, a number of other women came forward with similar accounts of harassment perpetrated by members of the Freemasonry. This collective testimony has shed light on the harrowing experiences faced by these women, highlighting a troubling pattern that demands attention. Unveiling the truth, a survivor's story. A conversation with a survivor of child abuse, committed by Freemason members. A cult group, a change for women who are suffering in silence in hands of an Freemason occult. How can our government law enforcement support victims and citizens of these crimes in Great Britain when they are part of an occult organization? Is it acceptable behavior for members of Freemasonry to believe they possess the power to circumvent the law and negatively impact the lives of women? Nina Ritchie interviews a survivor of child abuse, Miss Gemma Hines' true story. Nina Ritchie has dedicated 43 years of her life serving society with her own funds. She is now sharing a true heart-reaching story of a remarkable lady, Gemma Hind.
Thank you for joining me today, Gemma. It takes immense courage to come forward and tell your story. Can you share with our audience what motivated you to speak out now?
Thank you, Nina Ritchie, for taking time to interviewing me despite what you are facing. You have volunteered to support me. For years, I lived in silence, haunted by the trauma of my past. But I realized that my story could help others who are still suffering in silence. I want to give a voice to those who cannot speak for themselves, to shine a light on the dark realities of child trafficking and abuse.
Your experiences are heartbreaking. Can you tell us a little about what you went through and how it has shaped your desire to help others?
I was taken from my biological family as an infant. For years, I lived in a world that felt familiar yet profoundly disconnected. Now, at 42, I am embarking on a journey to uncover the truth about my past, a truth I only discovered 1 year ago. My childhood. I was kidnapped before I even reached months old, placed in the hands of a family that was not my own. Growing up, I believed I was part of a loving family, but the reality was far more sinister. My adopted family was deeply involved in a secretive organization, one that engaged in horrific acts disguised as a community. They were part of a network that exploited innocent children, using methods that can only be described as evil. Recollections of trauma. I become more abstract, conveying a sense of confusion and fear. I was just 3 years old when the abuse began. I was subjected to unspeakable acts, manipulated and degraded. This was not just a fleeting nightmare, it was my reality for years. The impact of abuse. By the age of 14, I realized that the people I had been raised to believe were my family were in fact deeply entrenched in a world of exploitation and trafficking. They were part of a network that preyed on the vulnerable. I was often drugged, ensuring that I would forget the horrors I endured. My mother, who should have protected me, instead facilitated my abuse, passing me to different men for money. The trauma I experienced is etched in my memory, a haunting reminder of a childhood stolen. Today, I stand here not just as a survivor, but as a voice for those who cannot speak. It is time to shed light on these dark corners of society and to seek justice for the countless children who have suffered in silence. This is my story, but it is also a call to action. Together, we can change the narrative and ensure that no child endures what I have faced. Join me in this fight for truth and healing. I'm placed in a household that was part of a secret society involved in horrific acts against children. I'm reaching out to share a deeply concerning personal experience that has profoundly impacted my life. At 42 years old, I recently discovered that the family I believe to be mine is not my biological family. This revelation followed a traumatic past where, as an infant, I was taken by Child Protection Services. My biological family appears to be involved in a secretive organization, specifically the Freemasons, which has connections to a disturbing religious cult. Throughout my childhood, I endured severe abuse, including sexual exploitation, which I now recognize as part of a larger, sinister pattern of behavior associated with this group. It is crucial to bring awareness to these issues and seek support for those affected. I encourage anyone who has experienced similar situations to come forward and seek help, as there is strength in sharing our stories and pursuing justice. The abuse started when I was very young and continued for many years. It has left deep scars, but I've come to understand that sharing my story is a crucial step in my healing process. I hope that by speaking out, I can encourage others to break their silence and seek help.
What message do you want to convey to those who may be experiencing similar situations?
I want them to know that they are not alone, there is hope, and healing is possible. It's important to reach out for support, whether from friends, family, or professionals. We must work together as a society to protect children and hold abusers accountable.
Thank you, Gemma, for your bravery in sharing your story. Your voice is powerful, and it is essential in the fight against child trafficking and abuse. Together, we can bring awareness to these issues and advocate for change.
This conversation between Nina Ritchie and Gemma Hind serves as a catalyst for change, emphasizing the importance of speaking out against abuse and the need for societal support in protecting vulnerable children. Kids will forever surprise you. Parenting is about raising and celebrating the child you have, not the child you thought you'd have. When you feel caught in the web of childhood abuse, find words to describe it. Stress, anxiety, mood, personality disorders, emotional trauma. They say a bad parent was a traumatized child, caught in the fires of their own suffering. Their thoughts more hurricane than own suffering. Their thoughts more hurricane than poetry or soul. I guess that's right. In that exists a road to forgive, a way to see the bigger picture and move on with your own soul intact, head held high. When we see it, we can learn to heal, learn to love anew and be a person we approve of in a way that is deep and calm. Then we can become the good parents and start a new cycle that is loving and healthy, plant a good seed in the rotten wood, and watch the new spring growth. You can survive this, and once you have, your life can begin again, and you will realize how good life can be, and that you can survive anything. I quote, "They never felt so alone. Nothing comes close to the amount of courage that took me to share my story. I am deeply aware of the pain caused to any victim of child abuse, especially at the hands of a trustworthy person within the church, and Freemason evil occult childhood should be carefree, playing in the sun, not living a nightmare in the darkness half of my life. Nothing that grieves us can be called little. By the external laws of proportion, a child's loss of a doll and a king's loss of a crown are events of the same size. By Mark Twain, which was the dream, the end, the end.